Now, Sigurd Neubauer is an analyst on the Gulf Cooperation Council, and he joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Sigurd, let's start with these latest summits in Mecca. Are they a step forward in your mind?
I would characterize it as slightly differently. I would say that it's a step forward and two-step backwards, because it was certainly positive that the Qataris decided to dispatch their prime minister instead of the deputy minister of state who had previously represented Qatar at the GCC summit in Riyadh. And as you reported earlier, during the GCC summit in Kuwait, where Emir Tamim of Qatar participated, the Saudis and Emiratis and Bahrainis in turn sent their own deputy minister of state. So the fact that Qatar was able to send a prime minister was a good sign in itself.
And was this a surprise invitation for Qatar, given the blockade?
The invitation came after extensive U.S. Diplomatic pressure. The United States had initially wanted all GCC leaders, including Emir Tamim of Qatar, to participate. But for the Qataris, they would only participate once the blockade has been lifted. And since that was not in the cards this time, they decided to honor the American request by sending a senior official, but still one level below the head of state.
Let me ask you more about that, Sigurd. Just how much influence does the U.S. have in potentially mediating any kind of a move towards the end of a blockade? Presumably, given how close the White House is to Riyadh and that their largest military base in the Middle East is in Qatar, it's in their interest for both sides to get along a little better.
Absolutely. The United States has consistently called for GCC reconciliation, and the way that the diplomatic game is played is that it is officially spearheaded by Kuwait, who has a long tradition of mediating within intra-GCC disputes, but with American backing in the back. What is important to understand is that Qatar faced an existential military threat 2 days into the blockade in 2017. And on the one-year anniversary of the blockade last year, King Salman of Saudi Arabia sent a letter to President Macron of France, where he threatened military moves against Qatar in the event that it should acquire the so-called S-400 system from Russia. So the military threat has always been on the table as an option from the blockading states, and the Americans have put their foot down and instead encouraged GCC reconciliation. But because the region is so fragile, what the Americans have wanted to do is to ensure that Kuwait takes the lead so that a face-saving measure can be achieved for all parties.
You say the region is fragile, and indeed it is, especially given U.S. tensions with Iran. How seriously do you think the blockade is affecting the U.S.'s agenda in the region?
I think what is really important to understand about the blockade is that it is impacting the Qatari people and preventing them from visiting their relatives and business partners elsewhere in the GCC. As far as economy and commerce is concerned, Qatar has been able to find new suppliers and have increased trades with both Turkey, Oman, and Iran. So it seems to be doing quite well on the economic front, but on the social front, it is still a big burden.
And sorry, in terms of the U.S. agenda in the region, Sigurd?
In terms of the American agenda in the region, it's very clear, and that is that only a united GCC can really contain Iran. And the United States has deployed, as we know, several B-52 nuclear bombers to Qatar's Al Udeid Air Base, and the United States has also dispatched an aircraft carrier to the Gulf. But we know that the aircraft carrier is being held up so that diplomacy with Iran can be given a chance. But by and large, the military buildup in the Gulf is for collective security, and it is impossible to have collective security once Washington's partners in the region are squabbling amongst themselves.
Sigurd Neubauer there, an analyst on the Gulf Cooperation Council. Thanks for your insights on Al Jazeera.